Right, YouTube's on. Facebook should be on. Instagram should be on. Let's see how we do, and hope nothing drops out. Right now, I'm a little bit stiff, so if I'm looking robotic, it's because my shoulder is super tight. And I'm just trying to put this heat stuff on it, but like that's about as far as I can turn my neck, and that's about as far as I can go that way. It's just pretty tight at the moment. Tight for a few days, and I was doing some training yesterday, which I shouldn't have done, but what do you do? Right. So this week, what I'm sort of looking at is some comments I've got from a few people about a sexual abuse video that I put on YouTube is where the main comments came from. A little bit of feedback on Twitter too. Twitter, by the way, if you're not using Twitter, amazing. So this video was going through some of the telltale signs that you can see from. Oh, how you going, Em? I actually don't want you on this one. Get off this one. But I hope you're well, darling. I will need to give you a call soon and have a bit of a chat. But I do hope you're well. Yes, you're such a potato. Right. This one was sort of looking at situations and instances that these sorts of things can occur that most people aren't aware of. And most of it will happen when abuse happens to children, right? So stats are 1 in 5 boys before the age of 12, 3 in 5 girls before the age of 12. Now, the most common places for this to happen are in mixed family environments. So if your kids have got stepbrothers and sisters or step parents, that's the most common place that these things happen. The statistic, it's actually pretty scary how much the odds increase for kids in those situations, the chances of them actually coming across something like this. And I do a lot of those sort of videos that I'm doing. This is a pretty big driver behind the business that I've got in aiming to prevent these sorts of things from happening, because it's something that I experienced in pretty close detail, which was not a great thing to go through. But also the way that things like Strange and Danger and that are taught are absurd. They're so ridiculous, they're so bad, and they never work. Kids never use them because when things like that happen to them, it's only 5% of the time that it's someone that they don't know. It's almost always someone that they know, whether that be in that mixed family environment where the risk is greatest, or if you then go to more direct family environment, like you move to cousins, aunts, uncles, those sorts of things will be the next. And then you move into like the school environment where you've got teachers, friends there, yada, yada, yada. Those sorts of things that happen. And then right at the end, you've got strangers. And all the attention that everyone puts on when attempting to empower kids in these sorts of things is based on the thing right at the end that almost never happens. And I'm not saying it's good when it does happen, but I'm just saying if it would be like, right, if you were going to go do like an English test, right, and you knew that like the test was based off a book, and so to prepare for the test, the best thing to do would be to read and study the book. But what you did is you read the summary at the back of the book and thought that you were going to ace the test. And that's given you 5% or less of the information that you need. It's an absurd strategy and a really good way to fail. And that's basically what everything that's done around Stranger Danger is doing for kids growing up. It's stupid, it's absurd, it doesn't work. And it's why the statistics are what they are. And they're only the ones that get reported. Right? If you're watching this, and it doesn't really matter what you are, stats will say that people that are watching this will have gone through it. And have you actually told someone about it? Have you not? Most, like, I know with guys, a lot of guys go underreported. And I've met plenty of girls that have never said anything about it happening to them either. So I believe those stats are quite conservative, which is really sad. But definitely something that needs to be looked at and hopefully improved. And I hope that my programs can help in that. So when you're looking for signs like this as to what's going wrong, or if it's happening and kids aren't talking about it, because this is a really important thing to note as well. Groomers, people that are grooming kids in these sorts of roles, they build a very strong level of trust. They can make it like a game at times, but they can also scare the kids into saying anything about it. So like, if you say this, then this is going to happen, and like all this sort of threat and control stuff, which is very unfortunate as well, but it's reality and it's what happens. Some of the ways that it's let out can be emotionally as a really, really big trigger. So if you see your kids drastically change how they act emotionally, and there just doesn't seem to be any reasoning behind it, that can be an indication that maybe something there has gone wrong. It might not be related to this, but possibly something in that vicinity. So a good idea to create a very, very safe space for the kids to be able to chat with you about it. Or if it's not you, then someone else that they really trust. There could be marks, bruises, different things that just seem a bit random. Like if they're not doing any sort of physical contact sport and they come home, they've got their bruises and they seem to be making weird stories about what they are, where they came from. That can be a pretty clear sign as well. So yeah, just keep an eye out for some of those things. And I think the most important thing is making kids feel safe enough to be able to express that stuff, and don't destroy them. Like, for, you know, it's not a nice thing to sort of hear from a child, of course, but I think it's a lot scarier for the child who's either going through it, has gone through it, and then are worried about what you're going to be thinking when they're trying to come and tell you about it. Like, are you going to judge them? You're going to call them bad? You're going to call them diseased? You're going to call them ill? You're going to call them damaged goods? Are you going to be there in support? Like, they don't know this, and so you creating an environment of real safety around them is very important if it has happened, or if you suspect that it's happened. The other thing to be aware of, if it has happened, it's often quite hard to get the legal system to actually do anything about it. That's just the fact of life. Most of these things don't go convicted, and even if they are let off very lightly most of the time. Some get punished quite severely, but most don't. And that's also something to be aware of when these things are shared, because it is, and I'm not an advocate for it being easy for these people to be convicted, because it's a very serious thing and people do make it up. And a lot of girls in Australia do make it up, in particular countries like Australia, America, England, where the system is set up in a way that's very, very detrimental to men and very, very beneficial to women. Now, again, I'm not condoning any of this action. I'm like so against this. It's not funny, but there are women that will go do it in seeking attention. And if it's very easy to target men for that, then a lot of innocent guys can get destroyed, and people lose businesses, they lose families, they lose lives, and that's not fair at all. So it should be a hard thing to go through, but it also needs to be better than what it is, for sure. From what I've seen, it's got to be a lot better. So yeah, just be aware of some of those things so that you don't, if it does happen and you have to go through it, and don't get your hopes up that the person's going to get killed, because they might just get let off. And yeah, that's not a nice thing to see happen here. So the other thing that I wanted to get to outside of that is, that's dealing with it after the fact, which is not something that I'm a fan of. That's sort of the approach of, like, you get sick, then go to the doctor, hospital, get something to fix it. That's the reactive approach. I don't like that. I like the preventative approach to pretty much everything. So that's how I design my program. And the idea of the approach that most people take being only useful 5% of the time, because they're focusing on that much of the problem that is actually this big. I don't. I focus on the whole thing. And that's why when I teach kids and when they do it, I hear that they use it all the time. They use it at school. They use it with friends that they've had at school. They use it with people that they don't like at school. They use it with mum and dad. I've had kids use it with me in class, which has been great because we've just been doing techniques and I like grab them on the wrists a little bit too hard. They feel uncomfortable. And so they use the technique to prevent things from happening, because most of the time, and this is what I teach kids, when things like that go wrong, or someone's saying something, doing something, or touching you in a way that you don't like, they need to identify that feeling. All right, because sometimes the person that's doing, most of the time, the person that's saying something, doing something, or touching them in a way they don't like, they're not going to be aware of how the child is feeling. It's very important that the child, first of all, lets that person know, and then second, then changes how they're feeling, creates space so that they can take control of the situation. Third, then goes and tells someone else so that they can get help. Usually at step one, when they let the other person know how they're feeling, that person's just going to change what they're doing, and it stops. Done. Right? And that's actually a very similar thing for predators as well, because usually it's a grooming process, right? It takes time. So if your child can be like, okay, cool, identify what like being uneasy, not feeling comfortable with something is, and then prevent it early on, that person, that predator who's sort of looking to prey on an innocent or weak-looking child, isn't going to go there because they know the child's standing up for themselves. And this is one of the things I talk about in the videos. These people who do these sorts of things are never going to go for people they view as being stronger than them or more powerful. So making sure that you can cut those things off early, or give the kids tools to be able to cut those things off early, can save an enormous amount of pain, heartache, and psychological damage later on if you can get those preventative tools. That's in my Yellow Belt program, so I strongly encourage you to check that out. It's week 3, I believe, that we go over that, and then it's consistently done throughout, and it's done in a way, like I said, that actually works. And kids will use it not just in situations where there's a stranger, but where there's people. It doesn't matter who the person is. They understand that how they're feeling is the most important thing. They understand that they have to let other people know how they're feeling, because not everyone's a mind reader, as much as people like to think they are. They're not. And when they've got those sort of tools and understand how to create distance, understand how to be loud, and they practice it and they're confident in doing it, you get some very, very powerful results. And I have, and I'm very, very proud of that about my program. So strongly recommend doing that. If you don't have the link, it's on all the channels that you're watching on, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, it is there. But just drop a comment and I will get you the link if you don't. The other thing, live events, I'm going to be doing again very soon, which I'm super excited about. Working towards doing some of those in the US, coming in, what are we looking at? September, October. We're looking to be over in the US potentially and do some live events, which will be really, really fun with kids and possibly ladies over there. So if you are interested in that and you're in the States, particularly Texas is sort of where we're looking at the moment, but I'm happy to go to other states as well while I'm there, then I'd encourage you to get the Yellow Belt program in particular so that you have an idea about what I actually teach. Because if you don't know what I'm doing, or the kids don't know what I'm doing, then it's going to be very hard for them to follow along. But if they've got a bit of background knowledge and there's a few kids in the area that sort of want me, you know, a decent sized group, to want me to sort of put on an event, I'm happy to sort of travel around and do that. And yeah, but it starts with the virtual program. So if you haven't seen that, you haven't watched it, jump on it. They're very, very good. Money back guarantee on it if you don't like it. It's 50% off at the moment. It's usually $197. They're down to $97 at the moment. So if you want that, drop a comment. I'll get you the link. We'll get you on board with that. And hopefully I'll be doing some more events in person very, very shortly. Might do some more in-person events in Australia too, but I'm just not sure about that one at the moment. I just that country's in a lot of trouble, in my opinion. I don't really want to support it in any way, shape, or form, but I also don't want to just leave kids out there in the dark when there's some very important things that they need to be learning, in my opinion. So I'll leave it there, but I will, comments if you want the links to those programs. Live events coming soon, and any questions, drop them in, let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But for now, I'm out. I gotta go try and fix this. I might put some ice on it now. She's really sore. All right, see, just it's like this shooting pain, boom, straight up my neck. But I got a PB on the lift, so I'm happy. Oh, now I've got a week off lifting. That's right. I'll be back soon. All right, see you guys.